Hey, this is Jess from Unboxing Data. Today we're going to be talking about visualizing data and in particular using Power BI as my tool of choice. Now, in my last video, I showed you how to analyze the data out of the files that I had exported from or downloaded from my Spotify account. So I ran you through some of the the individual files and what they meant and all the specific data that they capture at a very quite a granular level. So now what we want to do is to actually take that data and say, right, go from data to information to knowledge to wisdom. So how we do that is we can start using visualization tools to group that data or put it on a graph and understand I bought a total of this many vodka cruises in 2019 using this this picture as an example, or I listened to this song this many times and this is when I listened to it, and kind of understanding all those habits. And what you'll usually find is that Spotify or a data scientist or anybody like that will group up all of these files into one big macro file and then they'll run all their analysis on it. So I guess the key takeaway right now is that I will run you through how to actually run some of these, how to import the data into Power BI, do a bit of data manipulation, the most basic of it, because I'm not a data scientist by any measure, and then run a simple example of a bar graph to show you this is the song that I listen to most. So that's kind of my core objective right now, is to show you how to do a couple of those things. So before I move on, I'd just like to mention the two sponsors today. The first one is Young Women Leaders in AI. They're a really great community group. If you're interested in just technology in general, head over there to the Young Women Leaders in AI website. Sign yourselves up for our bootcamp because we run through some really great content like the ethics of AI, learning how to build machine learning, the different tools and stuff that you can use. So that's the Young Women Leaders in AI. Give them a look up on Google. The other sponsor for today is Observer. Observer is a data management software company. We work with mining and oil and gas companies, but I thought I'd give them a shout out because they provide all the equipment, because that's where I work. What I'll do now is I'll show you how to actually start doing stuff with this, because it's all well and good at looking at it and saying, oh, this is what it is that you actually want to see what they would do with it. Like, I'm not sure if they use this, so Power BI Desktop is the visualization tool of my choice, but they might use other visualization tools like Spotfire, Tableau, Power BI. They're the main ones. So this is what it looks like. It is Power BI Desktop is a Microsoft product. So it's a bit different to Excel, but it's very, like, if you know how to use Excel, then there's some things, there's some similarities, like they built Power Pivot and Power Query features in Excel, and that's fundamentally some of the stuff that you end up using in Power BI. And what I find also the difference between Excel and Power BI is that Excel, it's great if you have, like, maybe you're just doing stuff normally, your normal calculations and that kind of thing. But where it really falls down is if you have 10,000 lines of data. It's just like you get that it's not responding thing, and then the circle of death of Excel just doesn't like you anymore and you want to pack up and go home. So this is where Power BI really comes into its own, because it is a specific tool for managing lots and lots of data. So this is what it looks like when you log in. I already have an account. I don't need this. You don't even actually need to have a Power BI account just to even start doing things. So I'm too lazy to log in right now, so I'll just click the X. So it's a shortcut to get around all of the things. You just keep clicking X basically, and then you can start building stuff. So what the first thing of Power BI is that you have to bring data and you have to get data. And there's heaps of videos about using Power BI and stuff like that. I know the basics of Power BI, so what I'll do is I'll just show you how to, you've got your JSON data. I'll just show you how to pull it into this tool. So what you can do is that there's like heaps of just general ones. So like even if you have an Excel worksheet that's got lots of data in it, you can just pull it into here and start doing stuff with it. So we know that this is a JSON file. So what I'll do is I'll click more because none of those options are included there. And what you can see now is this one here. So import data from a JSON document. That's what I'll select, and I'll go connect. And then this is showing my data. So what I can do now is I'll select on one of those streaming history documents. I might actually go to the latest stuff, that might be more interesting. So I'll click to open this, and I'll bring up a screen. Maybe it's thinking. Alright, so like I said, this is like Power Query, and it gives me this, which wow, that's helpful. So what I want to do is I'm going to look at these things here, and I can't actually do much with this, but what I'll do is I think I need to convert this to a table, so I'll click that. It says create a, so when I did this I was just like, well, I don't know, just okay. Then I don't know how I knew how to do this, but I clicked this little arrowy thing and it said, all right, these are all the column names, and I went, okay, that sounds fine. And then ta-da, this is what you want. So what this is basically doing is it's saying that your JSON file, like each one of those kind of sections of curly brackets, is one row of data. I don't listen to that song. Let me find a better song. I'm just all I'm doing right now is making a case for the fact that I have terrible taste in music. 5 Seconds of Summer. Like, I'm really not selling myself here. Whatever. All right, My Millennial Money. That's a podcast. But anyway, so this will show you the date and time, still in UTC, the name of the podcast or the artist, the name of the track or the podcast, and then how long you listen to it for. So this is a podcast, which is like an hour, which is why there's like a heap of numbers. So that's kind of all of those there. What I'll do very quickly, because I know this from experience, is that what it's done here now is that it's actually just saying that it's all text. But when you have data, you want to make sure that it has the right data type, in which case you want to tell the system that, hey, this is actually date and time. It's not like a it's not text, or it's not a string or anything like that. It's a date and time. Then what you want to do is that this is actually text, so that's fine. This is actually text, that's fine. But this is a number. So what I want to do here is I just want to make it a whole number. So that means it will format as a number, and then when it comes to later, when you're like playing around with it, it will treat it correctly. So what then I can do is I can make it pretty, and I can get rid of whatever the hell this column 1 stuff is. Just click on it and keep clicking. Yep, there we go, track name. I can also format it to be not lowercase and all that stuff, but I don't care that much, so I'll leave it as is. I just like having it the same names as what was in the file. So click there, and then the last step is to so if you ever want to get rid of any of the steps, you just click to, in this query settings thing, you click X. I'm fine with it right now, so I'll just come back and go close and apply. It's applying the query changes and doing very smart thinking things. Alright, and now we still have a blank page. It's not actually going to create graphs and stuff like that for you. What it will do though is that now there are things on this right hand side of the screen in this fields page, and we've got the table, or the packet of that file I downloaded, the artist name, end time, MS played, and track name. So what this means now is that I can actually start building graphs and stuff using these columns. Like if you think about Excel, where you have an x-axis and a y-axis of data, I can kind of start doing the same thing. So which one do I want to use? I'm just going to, so what you do is you like pick a visualization. So this is like a, I want a bar graph, I want a line graph, I want a pie graph, I want, and there's also a couple of other ones there I'll show you as well, but let's just go to the holy grail of graphs, and which is good old boring bar graph. It's got nothing on it, but what you'll see here is that in this visualizations kind of column, you can add an axis, legend, and value, tooltips, other stuff, irrelevant. Anyway, what I want to do is I want to show how long I have listened to a song for. So what I'll do is I'll just click on the track name and MS played. Come on. And what it will do is it will kind of just populate this graphy thingy for me. So you can see for this period what tracks and how long I've listened to them for. So, or how many times like my favorite songs are. What the hell? Die for me. Really? So, yeah, so Post Malone. I think there's a, yeah, I went on a real like Post Malone kind of listening session recently. So, what you can see is that, you know, these are the songs that I've listened to most. And it's kind of what Spotify would do at the end of the year. It would just get all of those 3 streaming files, put them into one and say, all right, show me which song you've listened to the most for this year period. So that's kind of how they would do that. They would just go, all right, and put these top 10 into a playlist. That's pretty much what I would expect them to do. Now, whether or not they actually do that is another thing entirely, but that's kind of how I would think that they would do it. So that's just my 2 cents. Anyway, what you could also do is, like, similarly, you can also just add see which artist I listen to most. So this is added it as a legend. That's not really what I want. It looks weird now and it doesn't make any sense. So if I pull it up into here, no, that's not what I wanted. Pull it up. Yeah, so you can, like, it's a very drag and droppy kind of thing. So I can drag it up here. Now it's still on that Die For Me song is the one I've listened to the most, but what you can do is that there's all these like buttons here. Drill down, go to the next level in the hierarchy, expand all down one level in the hierarchy, and there's filters and stuff like that as well. So what I'll do is I'll go down one level and to the next level of the hierarchy, because this is like a hierarchy here. And this is going to show me the artists that I've listened to, and just take into account that this is in the last quarter of like the last couple of months, I guess. So you see I was, like I said, I went on a massive Post Malone binge because his album came out, and then I also listened to a lot of Nikki Heaton, Real, My Millennial Money's podcast, Haim, and etc. So they're the kind of top artists for this time period, and that's kind of how you can see what you listen to. Most of the time, this data kind of just like confirms what you already know, but sometimes it's just like, yeah, oh, that's interesting. Especially in the case of, like, if I click that, I had no idea I listened to this song so much. Like, either I've been listening to this on repeat and just like forgetting about it or something like that. I didn't think I did listen to it that much, but apparently I have. So that's just the fun part of data sometimes, is you just find out things that you didn't realize. So that's that. That's a couple of ways that you can look at your data and play around with it, using both your personal data exported from somewhere like Spotify, as well as, you know, using Power BI to start playing around with it, learn more. You know, yeah, it is some specifically, you know, general stuff, but one of the other things that I would think is like great post-learning from this is actually there's this great article about the Spotify recommendation engines and how they're built. So let me just find it. I did Google it. I read this ages ago, but it was really helpful. Just basically talking about how they build these models, and it was, I think this is it, yeah. So basically it talks a bit more about that, And I mean, there's a couple more ones that you can just, if you Google Spotify's recommendation engine, there was an article on this on here, so maybe it's this one. There was an article I read on Medium. It was really thorough on how they built it. And no, I think anyway, I think maybe I would say read both. Like, just Google Spotify recommendation engines, and there's some really great content out there if you're interested in learning more about Spotify and how they make, you know, their recommendations, their playlists for you, and that kind of thing. And it's all about, you know, starting with the data that we just exported. You know, their data scientists would use tools to visualize it and learn a bit more about it, and then they'd go a step further and then start building these recommendation engines to add value to the product. So that's a little bit of a deep dive into unboxing your Spotify data and what you can do with it, you know, understanding what data they collect about you, how they use it, and, you know, what you can potentially use with it. So I hope you found that interesting. My name's Jess, and this is the Unboxing Data podcast. I hope you have a great weekend, and thanks for listening.